Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here today inside the boardroom of Hunters and Fraukau, the exclusive importer of Cuban cigars into the United Kingdom, and unarguably one of the most important and historically significant of all the Habanos distributors. I'm thrilled to be here today at the invitation of Mr. Sean Croley and Miss Ana Lopez, two absolutely incredible people in the Cuban cigar business, and they have extended the very generous invitation to share the stories behind what is the most significant collection of regional cigars that probably exists in the world. And so here we are in front of what is a hugely important collection of cigars without question, and we have the extreme pleasure of learning more about what went into this program, the stories behind these individual releases, and just everything that lies behind these absolutely fabulous cigars. So, Sean, Ana, thank you so much for having me here. I have to tell you, what a pinnacle day to be here just in the presence of this collection.
Thank you very much, Kirby, for this invitation and for being with us to share with our customers and all the people the information about how this project started some years ago.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're always excited to share with people about the regional edition, UK regional editions, Habanos regional editions. So, believe me, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to share with you and your audience over the years how the project has developed, not just here but in Cuba and so on. And to this day, where we're very proud of the collection that we've got today and is still growing.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I've always enjoyed and appreciated about Habanos cigars has been their collectability. I mean, without question, Habanos cigars are exceptionally collectible. I mean, the connoisseurs of Cuban cigars enjoy collecting and aging, and that has existed, in many ways by virtue of maybe the box dating. But the regional program, which was released in 2005, really took that to new levels by offering access to, limited edition releases of new Vitolas that aren't part of the standard portfolio. And of course, Hunters and Fraukau, being the oldest and in many ways the most significant of the distributors of Cuban cigars, has been, as it is no surprise, intimately involved in the creation of this program. And I know that you have a long history and career within Habanos and now with Hunters and Fraukau, and you and Sean and Gemma, really were there from the inception of this. So you'll have to tell us more about kind of how this all started, just as a program.
Yes, well, the project of regional edition always is said that it started in 2005, but it started earlier, I would say, because the origin of this program is back to the 90s, I would say.
Okay.
When Habanos, Corporación Habanos S.A., started to develop new brands, for example, because was the time of the boom, we call the cigar boom, the demand for cigars in general, and in particular for Cuban cigar, was huge at the time. And in the 90s, at the end of the 90s, a great deal of new brands were released into the market, like Guava, Vegas Robina, San Cristobal de La Habana, Trinidad. And at the beginning of the year 2000, Corporación Habanos started the process of joint venture with Altadis S.A. And at the time, the marketing strategy was designed in order to support mostly the global and niche brands. And we had a number of multi-local and local brands that need the support. And Habanos gave that task, I would say, mostly to the exclusive distributor, and was part of the origin of this program. That, I would say, was one factor. The another factor that contributed to this program was the appetite in the markets for special products. And one of the most important markets that made big effort on this project was United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just put it into context as well. Having special lines or brands even made exclusively for retailers or particularly retailers, particularly in London, is nothing new.
Yeah.
You have in the past, you have the Dunhill Selection Supremo range, which had vitolas in Monte Cristo, Romeo, Upman, made just for distribution by Alfred Dunhill. That then even progressed to having their own brands, just for them. The Don Candido, the Don Alfredo, and the Flor de Punto. So the concept of making special vitolas and brands is something it's not a new concept, as it were. And indeed, not just Dunhill, but you had the Fox selection as well, and so forth. So to promote the smaller brands that needed, after the raft of promotion of the global brands with the limited editions, and then the introduction of the new brands. I came into the industry in '96, and suddenly there was a new brands every single year, and then limited editions, and then there was the Reserva concept in 2003. So I came in at a very interesting time, and obviously with the boom and everything.
Yeah.
So it was exciting days, and I think that's one of the things that got me sort of hooked into the industry and fell in love with it. So when the regional concept came about, and Ana will explain a little bit more in a minute, it was another opportunity to put the imagination of that local distributor who perhaps can create a size in a brand that would be appealing for the local market and for the tastes of that market. So it was a really exciting project and something that we grabbed with relish and will find over the years quite proud of what we created.
No, absolutely.
Yes, I came here to the United Kingdom to visit the market first time in the year 2000.
Okay.
And I was really impressed for this tradition existing in the market of having special products. And all the retailers approached to me in order what we can have. Of course, Habanos at that time, was really trying to give more priority to the most important brands. But we were aware that it was necessary to do something also for the markets. And the first trial that we did was in the year 2002.
Okay.
Yes, with the production for the United Kingdom of the Humidor that was called of Bolivar Centenary.
Okay.
Was the production of 100 Humidor with two sizes, Royal Coronas and Belicosos, just for the United Kingdom and Casas del Habano. And that was the first attempt of doing something special for one market. And because of the success of that first trial, in the year 2004, I was at the time in United Kingdom as a corporate director, so I changed from being a marketing director in Corporación Habanos to be a corporate director in Hunters Fraukau in 2003. So in the year 2004, we went back to Cuba and discussed with Corporación Habanos the possibility of having something special for the market because of the success of that humidor. And Habanos agreed to conduct a trial with one brand that was chosen by the distributor, that was Ramon Allones.
And I think it's important to note, as going forward, of why you'll notice a theme or a trend with Ramon Allones. Ramon Allones as a brand is very close to our hearts being Hunters and Fraukau's hearts, because the Hunters part of the company actually owned the brand back in 1911 up until 1927. Not just the brand, but the factory and the worldwide distribution rights. So it was also the main brand for Hunters for over 50 years.
Really? Okay.
And at one point in the 70s, there were 3 times more Ramon Allones sold than Monte Cristo, would you believe? Yeah.
Wow.
Back in those days, though, particularly in between 1911 and 1927, there was over 60 vitolas in the range, which, as you know, the brand now, which is much smaller. So you can appreciate why we've got a big soft spot for Ramon. And you'll notice as we go along, every time there's an opportunity to mark an event or an occasion and so on, we always turn to Ramon. And so it's by no accident that the very first opportunity we had to choose something just for our market, it was Ramon.
It was Ramon Allones. And at the time, in 2004, it was agreed to produce around only 12,000 cigars that arrived to the market in 2004.
Okay.
And those first cigars were named Ramon Allones Belicosos. Afterwards, those cigars were not like today's regional edition. They didn't have any second band. They were not numbered. It was just a process of trying to check, trying to find out how those cigars will be received by the market. And we found out that was perfectly, that everybody was really happy with having something just for the market. So in the year 2005, Habanos said to us, well, if you would like to continue with this project, the price of the cigar will change because that is very small quantity of cigars and it's a big effort by the industry to produce just this for one market. So we came with the discussion about that the price increase was just 10% or something like that. But for us at the time, it was a real big deal.
Any price.
So we said, well, it's necessary something with the already experience of having in the market the limited edition. We said, well, this cigar has not a second band, this cigar are not limited. Why to have this cigar so special with the price increase? So Habanos said, well, we have already an answer for that.
Okay.
And they came with the project of the regional edition in 2005 with the second band, with the regional edition and the number of boxes.
Okay.
So that is the way that this project that was just a trial in the market became a worldwide project, more refined and has became today a way for collectors to try to find out what has been released in this market, in another market, and try to have all this. That collection is really, really a big deal for some of those that really would like to keep some of the specialities.
I think the regional concept actually it's opened the door for new collectors, because in the past, it was quite intimidating in the way that you didn't know what to collect, you didn't know what to buy.
Yeah.
But now there was like definitive guidelines. So limited editions, okay, that would be good to collect, but not everyone could get access to them because you never know how many is available, or because you don't number the boxes at limited editions, because in Habanos don't know how many boxes they're going to produce, because it depends on the leaf when after fermentation and aging. So regionals became available to a wider audience of people to be able to start being collectors. So I think the regional concept has done that, has really encouraged that and encouraged the interest.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the interesting things you hit on is how historically there was a wide variety of vitolas and formats across the brands. And then as Habanos, grew, they focused the range on a small core portfolio of standard production cigars, which inevitably kind of narrowed also the choice. And in the regional program, I mean, one of its great virtues is the fact that you're able to experience, these new and novel formats that aren't part of the standard production range.
Correct. Both limited edition and regional edition have been the way of bring back to the market sizes that have been discontinued, sizes that never have been in the brand. So it has been a way of amplify the brand and give more choices also to the consumers.
Yeah.
Also, not just the sizes, but also gives the opportunity to bring a new brand into the country and offer smokers and cigar collectors the chance. So, for example, La Gloria Cubana, Por Larranaga. There, I've gone for it. Okay.
You nailed that one.
Yeah.
It's like I can't say it. It's
That you'll notice a theme. I'll try and avoid saying that one. Flor de Cano, which are not widely available in the UK at the time. But one of our strategies was to do a UK regional edition in these brands to introduce people. The trouble is, people liked it,
and now we have to continue.
Now we have to continue.
One curiosity about the first Ramon Allones, I want to show you something because sometimes people ask us about why we have, for example, in one of our humidors, the name of Ramon Allones Belicosos.
okay.
And I had in my humidor, for example, Ramon Allones Belicosos Finos.
Okay.
So it's Belicosos or it's Belicosos Finos. Well, I will tell you that we have both.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
in 2004, that first batch of cigars was the Ramon Allones Belicosos.
Okay.
And that lasts only 2004, 2005.
And this was that first
That is the
2003.
first. You can see July 04 was
Wow.
the production date. After that, when
And here's a box.
here one box of that first
Wow.
batch, exactly.
Okay.
And that was the cigars that were the cigars that we put in our first collection humidor of regional edition, the Belicosos.
Wow.
After that, we had the Belicosos Finos. So for collectors to have that Belicosos is even more special.
Really.
If you are talking about collectors, that is the difference between
This is a holy
Belicosos
grail
and
box.
Belicosos Finos. Belicosos Finos was after that. It's 2005, 2006.
And is it the same vitola, same cigar?
It's the same vitola, same cigar, just
Different
the
marking.
different name because it was different price.
That's what cost us the 10%.
Yes, that's right.
That 10% cost us.
That and the box number.
That
right?
Finos was
No, it's not numbered. It's still
these
not
weren't
numbered.
numbered.
It's still
No,
not
no,
numbered.
still not
It's just different price. It's still the same Belicosos, but that's the difference between the first batch of Ramon Allones Belicosos and Belicosos Finos.
Yeah.
And after that, we didn't have, with the first release of 2005 with second band and number, we didn't have any cigar at the time because we had the Ramon Allones Belicosos. And the first real regional edition with the second band was just in 2007 with
and
Por
that was
Larranaga.
Yes, thank you for
Por
saying that.
Larranaga.
That one, the Magnifico. Now, this was the first chance for us to have some fun and to be able to research and reflect some historical facts on the regional edition, and that's exactly what we did. So we researched the brand and the Vitola, which is the Partagas 16, 170 by 50, is a size we've discovered that existed in an old portfolio for the brand Por Larranaga. So we were inspired by that, but they also didn't stop there. We also recreated an old band. There's an interesting story about that. The late, great Simon Chase, the former marketing director of Hunters Fraukau, sadly no longer with us. His doctor actually sent him an old cigar. What was it, the band? Or I think it was a cigar that belonged to his grandfather.
Really?
Because he knew Simon was in the industry.
Yeah.
And Simon discovered that this band hadn't seen the light of day since 1905. It was a over 100-year-old band that used to dress this Por Larranaga cigars, and so we took that and we recreated those bands, and that you will find dressed on each of these Magnifico cigars.
From 2007.
From 2000,
And the size was a size. This is a catalog of Cuba tobacco, and it's 1972.
Yeah.
And it's the beauty of this country that keep a lot of things and the history and everything. Well, this catalog shows, for example, that size that was named Magnum. It was 50-172.
Okay.
We didn't have that size.
But we weren't allowed to call it Magnum because at the time there was development of the Magnum series in the H. Upman brand. So we had to come up with a different name, of which we came up with the Magnifico.
It's a great name. I mean, it's incredible to me, again, just keeping it into context, you know, how much history that Hunters and Fraukau has within Cuban tobacco. I mean, stretching back really since its inception. I mean, Hunters, I think, can trace its roots in the Cuban tobacco back to the 18th century. I mean, the late 1700s. And this distributorship and kind of the, I guess the evolution of companies has been so intimately involved. And one of the things I think that's very unique about the UK regionals is its ability for Hunters and Fraukau to draw on that history, to pull forward these artifacts right back into current production through the regional program.
Correct, exactly. Yes, that was very well reflected, for example, in the year 2008.
Okay.
Because in the year 2008, we came with the idea of having something special in Punch. And that was because I always refer to the late Simon Chase because at the time he was the marketing director. Yeah. And he was like someone that really had a big passion for cigars, but for looking for the information about the history and the past of the cigar. And he found in one of the trade price lists of an importer in the 30s, the existence of 3 sizes that were named Serie de Oro number 1, number 2, and number 3. And that were the coincidence of Serie de Oro number 1 was a Pyramide, Serie de Oro number 2 was a Campana or Belicosos, and the number 3 was a Petit Belicosos. So he came with the idea of let's try to reproduce the Serie de Oro number 1. That was the cigar that was in here. By the way, at the time, in the 30s, the price of that cigar was slightly less expensive than today. I would say that a hundred cigar will cost 193 pounds.
Oh wow!
So
not an insignificant
That's how much the bit you cut off these days.
That's right.
Well, that's in here. And when he came with that idea, and that is the beauty of this market, we found that one of the retailers had an original box of that Serie de Oro number 1. And this is a picture of that Serie de Oro number 1, the original box.
Wow.
Okay. And we said, well, try to replicate that box.
Well, what we discovered was that there was a few little characteristics.
No small ambition, right?
There was a little bit of characteristics on that box that certainly I had never seen.
Yeah.
So it had the clasp on the side. Maybe I'll try and...
Wow, look at those.
So first of all, you had the, as you say, beautiful box and the ribbon. But then where's the ribbon going? And then it comes through to an exit point here through and a clasp on the side.
Really?
So we decided, let's try and do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Which was no easy feat.
That it was a real task because that sort of the type of this box was not produced with that club and this sort of thing for years.
So this small little button, and that's
yes. We have to buy that machine, the machine that will be able to put that brush.
Look at that. This is beautiful.
Beautiful cigar. Beautiful.
But
real temptation
I mean, again,
not to
the
take
small
one out.
details that Hunters and Fraukau is putting into the collection. I mean, this is something that
There's something special.
Probably hadn't been done in a century.
Yeah, remember, Jem and I went to Cuba with the machine to the factory that produced the packaging for Habanos, and we explained to the gentleman in charge of that factory our idea. And he said, well, we have not produced that for a while. But thank God, still we had there a gentleman that remember about that box. It was 40, 50 years ago. And he helped us with that task. We brought the machine to Cuba, and they did that job that never have been replicated ever again because it's really difficult. It's really difficult. It was just
they did it once. And they said never again.
and never again. I said never again.
I think we did it once.
Yes,
as
that's
well.
right. Yeah.
Never again. Yes, it was real. But it's the way of trying to bring history and make more interesting the product for the consumer and for the collectors.
Yeah.
But it's not just the past that we look at. We also try and reflect current trends as well. And I think the next, another regional edition that we did was one in the El Rey del Mundo brand called Choix de l'Époque, which translates to choice of the age. And with this one, we were reflecting the fact that we'd previously had a smoking ban imposed on us.
Okay.
So we wanted to create a vitola that was a more stout, shorter cigar to reflect the age at the time, the choix de l'époque, choice of the age. And the brand, the most popular size was the Choix Supreme, which was Hermosa number 4, a 5 by 48. So we chose Choix, but this time choice of the age. And it's a smaller vitola, smaller cigar, because in the UK, as you probably realise, we're not blessed with the best weather. You certainly realised, coming from Cuba. Where we're not blessed with the most consistent clement weather. So it was, again, to reflect that. And so it's not, we look to the past, but we also try and reflect the trends of currently as well. So, and that was an interesting cigar.
We forgot to mention that in 2008, we also had another regional edition, because at the beginning, Habanos gave the opportunity to distributors of having the choice to produce or one brand in 2 presentations. That was the case in 2007. We had the Por Larranaga Magnificos presented in boxes of 25, in boxes of 10, and also we did a Humidor. And in 2008, we said, well, we are going to have 2 brands. And we had this Punch Serie de Oro number 1 and Gloria Cubana
Glorioso. And with this one, again, going back to what I said earlier, the Gloria Cubana was a brand virtually unknown in the UK at the time. So it was an opportunity for us, and we purposely chose that brand to introduce the blend to the UK smoker. And we did it in a box of 10, I believe. It's a doble, I think, the
it's
size.
a doble, 50 ringgit, 150.
And again, it really caught the imagination of the smoke, of the cigar enthusiast, the collector, who then became aware of La Gloria Cubana as a brand. So again, we're trying to reflect something.
And for that,
new.
we researched the brand and produced a special papeleta for the vista of the box that was very funny, because we changed the text that was in the papeleta and made a special test for us. I think we got a sample here. The thing is that usually the papeleta has different information, but we put a text there that said, this limited edition have been produced especially for Hunters Fraukau in 2008. And we also changed the brand and the cigar band.
Yeah, it didn't stop there, because also on the band, we noticed, again, it was an old cigar band, but we noticed that the lady that's depicted smoking, it looked a little bit too much like a cigarette. It was a bit white. Okay. So we actually coloured in. So when you look at the band of a La Gloria Cubana Glorioso, it looks like a little cigarillo. And if you look very closely on the inside lid, okay, you'll see a little parchment within the imagery, and you'll be able to read and say these cigars have been produced by some Frankau.
So
little things
part
like
of
that,
part of the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean about fun. It's not, you know, we really have fun every year when it comes to right, what should we do? What can we recreate? How can we do it? You know, it's a project that we really look forward to.
But talking about the phone, should we have a cigar?
Yes, I think that it would be rude to speak in front of these incredible cigars without smoking one.
Without smoking. That will be no.
Well, should we have the one that's currently our latest one, which is the Ramon 230.
Oh, wow.
Ramon.
Yes, Ramon.
To celebrate 230 years of Hunters Fraukau. Yeah. We'll come to that, I'm sure.
And you also did the Ramon Allones for the 225ths.
Yes, we will come that afterward. Yeah. But
this is
let's start with the cigar first.
Well, yes, we've got a lot to talk about, so we need... I mean, one of the things that, again, I've just enjoyed so much is how, you know, Hunters has used the regional program in some ways to influence or in some ways reflect smoking trends. And so the most recent releases, you know, have been larger or at least longer cigars, right? I mean, you've got the La Reina, which is a Lancero El Higuito number 1, 38 ring gauge, but quite long. And then we have, of course, these beautiful
this is the same size.
Private stock 230s. I mean, and I have to say, they're all gorgeous cigars. But this cigar is a masterpiece.
And this is the same size as the first one in 2007.
Really?
The same as the,
okay.
keep going back to that brand, the Por Larranaga Magnifico. So it's a Partagas 16. So again, we're not scared of revisiting vitolas that have been very popular.
But in different brands, right?
But in different brands, correct.
And so I know that now, right, I mean, the regional program is quite popular in that, although the United Kingdom or the UK market was the first to launch it, now is, of course, utilized by other regional markets, which is part of the
Very
fun.
much so, yeah.
Kind of going out into other markets and trying to find or collect these cigars, which can be quite difficult because they're only released in that market. But at that time, was there a set of rules? Because now there's a set of rules, or at least guidelines, that really govern the program.
Yes. From the beginning was a set of rules by Habanos. That the first rule is that regional edition will be only in multi-locals and local brands. Never a regional edition will be in a global brand.
Okay.
So that was
for
the first
example,
rule.
So what would be the global brands?
The global brand is for limited editions.
Okay.
It was mainly for the limited editions at the time.
Things like Cohiba, Monte Cristo, Romeo.
Okay. But I guess Bolivar would be a
Not a global
not a
brand.
global. Okay.
No, in the regional, you will never have a global brand like Cohiba, Monte Cristo, Romeo and Julieta, Partagas, Hoyo de Monterrey of H. Ullman. Those brands are reserved for global projects from Habanos.
So for those, you see the Reservas and the Grand Reservas, right, which are released globally, but you would never have a regional of one of those brands.
Well, they have started to, haven't they? Because you have the Bolivar was used for the Reserva, so they are introducing
Reservas into those, but you would never find a regional.
No, you wouldn't. And you wouldn't find. Basically, you wouldn't find a regional in Cohiba or a regional in Monte Cristo or in the global brands. No.
And so, what are the other rules that? Because I know that there are guidelines, or however Habanos refers to them, that govern the creation of a regional cigar.
Well, at the beginning, I'll mention the brand. At the beginning, they gave you the list, which was about 12 different brands that you could use. And you could use it, you could have a Bolivar one year and a Bolivar the next.
Okay.
But they found that, there used to be favorites, I think, with certain brands, and that wasn't the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point was to try and create a portfolio of regionals around global regionals from different brands. So they quickly introduced a rule whereby you couldn't repeat the same brand within 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, so if you had one in 2005, the next time you could use it was 2010, okay, and so on. So that was the first real change. And so each year we have to be creative in the way that there's, so we've done a Bolivar, we did the Ramon, can't keep picking Ramon.
Well, the 225ths, the 230ths?
225th, exactly.
So does this mean this is up for 235 or?
Well, maybe, who knows?
When we can, we pick when we can. But so that was the big first change. And then obviously there came the changes about two brands.
About quantities also.
Quantities, yeah, exactly.
Because
and two brands became one from 2012, I believe. So there has been changes where that's concerned. And we're still constrained today by that 5-year rule, by one brand, although the minimum quantities have risen quite a lot since the early days where, the minimum quantity.
But still,
another rule is about the packaging. And the sizes. I mean, the sizes should be...
Amazing.
This is excellent. Yes, it's amazing from the beginning. I know. But the sizes should be sizes that are standard sizes or sizes that have been used previously by Habanos, for example, in limited edition. I mean, sizes that the industry have the possibility of producing because they have the molds and the facilities to produce those sizes. And also, the packaging should be standard packaging.
Okay.
If the distributors, like in the case of Hunters Fraukau, would like to do a special cigar band or a special label or even a special packaging, have to be produced or support financially by the distributor. That is totally responsibility of the distributor.
It's like if you see on this wonderful cigar here, the recreation of an old Ramon brand in the black and the white. But if you notice, it's got the name written on it, Private Stock 230. So that's something that we asked for permission for. We got permission. We created the bands, or we had them printed and took them physically to Cuba for them to be applied.
In your luggage, are you traveling with these bands?
Well, it could be Sometimes it's taken in the luggage. Yes, sometimes it's sent by DHL.
That's why I've got
but sometimes it's taken
in the
luggage.
pictures over the years. I've got the same clothes because I've only got a very hand luggage for clothes, and the rest of my luggage is.
One of the
for
funniest
regional.
was in the 2010
Flor de Cano,
when Hunter and Frankau asked for the Flor de Cano Petit Robusto size that was called short Robusto, and that was like a tribute to a size that existed in the market in the 90s. It was discontinued in the 90s, and it was the Flor de Cano short Churchill.
Okay.
And that side was discontinued. Flor de Cano was a brand, mostly local to the Spanish market, and was mostly short filler brand more than a long filler. But there were three sizes, mostly three sizes: the Ademas, that was a Churchill size, Corona, that and the short Churchill, that was a Robusto size, that were long filler and were available in some markets like Switzerland, sometimes UK, France, etc. And we came with the idea, Hunter and Frankau at the time, because I was not at the time in Hunter, I was back in Cuba.
But you were still going to get the headache from Hunters and Frankau.
Big headache.
We came up with the idea. First of all, they wouldn't let, or they said they didn't want us to call it the short Churchill because obviously they were working with the Romeo and Juliet, short Churchill. So we called it the short Robusto instead. Okay. But we also took it upon ourselves to recreate the very striking green ink that you found on the long triple lager, the long filler cigars, for the relatively short period of time that actually they were made long filler at Flor de Cano. So the green ink had to be sourced and transported to Cuba.
Really?
Which
I don't even know how you do these things. I mean, it's just like
it fell to somebody else other than myself. But it was transported. So we sourced the green ink, and I can just imagine Anna's face as it arrived from Hunters and Frankau.
Just one small request,
just one false clip. And also not just, but on the cigars as well, the inside, on the wood as well, the green, on the cedar, and also. As well, just to recreate, put the name on the band as well.
Wow.
Now, so I'll let you take over. So
it's fine because they insisted on that green ink that have not been produced box like that since the 90s. 92, I think, was the last time that the Cuban cigar industry produced these boxes. So they brought the ink, but they took so long to bring the ink that the industry started looking for the ink. And at the end, let me tell you, we didn't use the ink.
You didn't use it?
The ink that you brought. We found in a printing house, we found the ink.
There's a nice green cottage somewhere in Cuba.
There was this wonderful green doors appearing everywhere.
That was used afterward in another regional edition that you came again with the same idea in 2013. But that is one of the things that is very
this particular, I remember clearly, this particular regional edition of ours, I think, became, and still is, the fastest selling regional we ever had.
This really?
Yeah. Literally.
That's
really
hard to
was.
believe that in this era of regionals that sell out, before you even read about it on Instagram as being available.
Usually, a regional edition, if it would stretch over, should we say, 18 months or 2 years, whatever the stock.
The idea was that to have,
and that was our idea as well. This one, I think, sold out within 4 months. The demand was so high.
I was at 30,000 cigars.
I think there was, I think there was, have a look. So the Flor de Cano was 30,000 boxes,
30,000.
I think because of the size as well, as being a Petit Robusto, it appealed to a wide number of smokers. Smoking ban was in.
Exactly.
So again,
you needed a fast smoke.
And also the collectability, as you mentioned earlier on, had started to really take effect. Whereas collectors, there was only a few. Now everyone started to be a collector. You see what I mean? Because everyone wanted, and particularly, it's just something about the green ink, which
really is
wasn't
quite,
the one we sourced, it turns out. But the green ink, again, was something very different.
Yes, because reminded the original box that was so collectible also, the Churchill. By the way, I think was Mr. Edward Sahakian who produced that box for us. I mean, the original box he had in his collection, one box of the Churchill, and we took that box to the industry to show exactly what we wanted. They took to us to show exactly what they wanted. So yes, that is something that also is very interesting in this market, because the history of this market and the tradition of keeping cigars for long time, to age cigars and so, have given Hunter and Frankau the possibility of really to have the support of the retailers in this project of regional edition. And they have been involved also in these ideas.
Not just ideas, but also in being involved with deciding even to some, once the industry has created 2 blends, on deciding a blend as well. We've taken, if we're lucky enough in Cuba to be at a time where there is some samples available, then they join us in the factories, like we did in only very recently, in the tasting factories and the panel, and we literally go through the whole process of making all the notes about this particular blend, and they're only marked at 1 or 2, so we don't know which one we're smoking, and then. So it's not just Hunters and Frankau. Our customers as well have been involved in some of the decision in the final blend and so on.
Well, there's so much continuity to the history here in the United Kingdom. I mean, just as a country. I mean, of course, as old as it is, and the rich tradition of quality, of craftsmanship and tradition that has existed in this country for a long time, really extends almost to every corner of the culture, and you see it in the retailers, like you mentioned, where you have these long-standing retailers, and I mean, even you, Sean. I mean, you were saying, earlier that your family's been in the cigar industry for 5 generations.
Yes. My great-grandfather in 1898 entered the industry, in particular in a shop in St James's Street, which was then called Robert Lewis, which is now J.J. Fox.
Really?
Arguably the oldest shop cigar merchants in the world, and my grandfather as well was there for 40-odd years, and my father. And that's when I actually entered the industry back in '96, when I was definitely university and I was in between jobs. And I went
came
there.
out.
And that's actually where I first met Gemma.
Oh, really?
I first met Gemma. Gemma came along as well, and we worked together in 19 St James's Street.
It's just hard to imagine.
And that's where we first met, and little did she know she'd be stuck with me for the next 27 years or so, or 25 years.
Yeah. And even your daughter now.
Yes. My daughter now has joined the industry and works and is being under the perfect stewardship of the incredible Edward Sahakian at Davidoff. So and Eddie at Davidoff. So it's and you find there are other people in the industry who have been so long. We're very lucky at Hunters and Frankau, where the majority of us are lifers here. Once you come in, it's such a wonderful company to work for and a wonderful industry. But if you look at the shops as well, many I have known since I've been there have come on the journey with me. I've known them for the last 27 years, and that's what makes it such a wonderful industry to be in, because literally they're not custom. I hate saying that word. They're actually colleagues and friends. They're friends.
Yeah.
So.
And Ana, I mean, you have also a renowned career, within Cuban tobacco. So, I think, let's take a brief interlude, if you will, from the regionals, to just allow you to share your story, because, I mean, you've been, you've seen so much in your life and had so much influence.
Well, I started in the industry in 1984. Just graduated from the university. I studied economics with a degree in foreign trade. Okay. So I was offered the possibility of being in one of the Cuban export companies. And of course, I chose Cuba Tobacco at the time because I was born in Pinar del Rio.
Oh, really?
And yes, and for me, tobacco has been in my blood for
literally
in my blood for a long, long time. So I chose Cuba Tobacco and joined Cuba Tobacco in 1984. And since then, I've been working in the industry. So I was appointed in 1993 marketing director at then Cuba Tobacco, and afterward when Corporación Habanos was created in 1994, I was again appointed marketing director. And since then, for me, it's been a real privilege to be witness of the process of developing so many things, being part of that process of, for example, the creation of new brands, like the one that we mentioned at the end of the 90s, the creation of the limited edition, Colección Habanos. For me, being part, for example, of the creation of the new linea in Coiba, linea 1492.
Okay.
So many things.
Linea Maestra.
Can you imagine from 1984, how many things have happened in the market that have been, have the privilege of being part of that.
Actually, you've been like firsthand involved in such a lot of changes in a relatively short period of time. If you think about, the Cuban cigar industry spans centuries, but from the 80s to now, and we just talked about the 90s and everything that was going on, and then suddenly the strategy with the new brands, and then the new concepts and everything, and Ana has been literally at the forefront of that.
I was in 1994, I started the marketing director in Habanos, and in 1996 was the first brand, 1997 another one, 1998 another one, 1999, in 2000 the limited edition. The festival, the Habanos Festival, that was part of my job also to create that festival. So it's so many things that have been able to, we say, contribute to this industry that, is helpful.
And then you also came to the United Kingdom and then worked pretty intimately with Hunters and Fraukau.
Well, yes, in 2003, I was appointed corporate director of Hunters and Fraukau for a period of 6 years. I came back to Cuba in 2009, again appointed a marketing director until 2014, when I came back to Hunters and Fraukau, and now it's part of the sales and marketing team. So, yes.
I mean, it's such an incredible team.
40 years between Habanos and Hunters.
To have Ana, my left hand and right hand and center, the advice and experience is invaluable. And before that, obviously, learning so much from Simon Chase as well, because I worked with him or under him for the first 11 years. I was at Hunters and Fraukau before then assuming the sales and marketing directorship. That I just feel that I'm blessed with that sort of level of knowledge, and to be able to help and guide me and through this ever-changing industry. So it's and that's got this rich. That's the thing, we're very lucky at Hunters and Fraukau in particular, this rich vein of experience, particularly with Gemma as well, and it's and everybody in the company has their own input and so on.
The history of the Freeman family in the cigar industry, which Gemma is part of that, is incredible, and that is part of the history of all this market.
And I think I think that actually the regionals gives us an opportunity to express that, to be able to, rather than just selling, which is very important, and distributing the standard of balance. The regionals gives us the opportunity of reflecting Hunters and Fraukau's, but also the industry's input as well. So that's why we put a lot of, we transport a lot of ink and clasps and bands and things like that. So.
But it's having your influence, right, on the development of the Cuban cigar market here in this region. But in so many ways, I mean, I feel that Hunters and Fraukau and the UK region is looked to globally as a source of influence on how things are done throughout the world. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that this idea of trying to make the regional edition not only just a cigar, but something else with some details that make more attractive for the consumer, the presentation and everything, is a trend that has been followed by other markets afterwards. And that is an influence that, for example, in my case, when in 2013, I was in Cuba as a marketing director, I brought the idea of developing the limited edition Punch Serie de Oro #2.
Okay.
And that is the influence
Because
of the
of the
regional
Punch
edition, the
Medailla
Serie
number
number
one,
one. Of course, we didn't do this difficult box,
yeah.
but
Why not, Anna?
but we did this as part of that bring back history
Yeah.
to the brands, and that is something that have been part of this influence of
there is so much
Hunter and
history.
Franco.
I mean, so much history.
We've also, I think we're responsible for, and you can confirm this, Ellen, of Hunters Fraukau inadvertently creating a completely new Vitola de Galera or factory size. And this goes
really?
back
Okay.
to our regional edition, the Bolivar Britanicas,
Okay, which year?
We are talking now about the year 2011.
2011.
Did we
And-
skip
2011.
anything? I don't want to skip any
No,
cigars,
well, we'll
so-
get there. But
No.
Yeah, I think, it kind of
Jumping forward,
nicely
yeah.
feeds into
Yeah.
it in the way that we wanted to do a size that is not usually available or and so on. So we went for a double figurado. It's actually a perfecto, isn't it? Because it's got a rounded head. And it was a size that was seen before in the Romeo and Juliet brand with their Celestinos Finos.
Celestiales Finos.
Finos, that's the
Celestiales
one.
Finos.
So again, we were pushing the boundaries and wanting to do it. And the ring gauge for a Britanicas, which is a Vitola de Galera in the factories, is a 46.
46.
So we asked for the standard size. Over to you, Anna.
Yes, but we didn't have that size anymore in the standard production.
Okay.
So it was necessary to produce the new mold for that. And the industry made a slightly mistake. And instead of producing a mold with 46 ring gauge, they did 48 ring gauge.
Okay.
So it was renamed the
Britannicas
Vitola
Extra.
de Galera as Britanicas Extra.
Extra.
And since then, that is a new Vitola de Galera in the industry. That
Right,
is
you've
the
got the
Britanicas
molds,
Extra.
you might as well use them, right?
So, without even knowing it, we are forging new sizes and so on. But exactly. That's a little quirk for people for the real, people who the bookworms who read up about it. It's actually a Britannicas Extra now, which is the new size.
Okay.
Which, jumping a little bit ahead again, our 2017 regional edition was La Gloria Cubana Britanicas Extra. So that did have a 48 ring gauge. So,
By the way, I would like to mention also.
Favorites.
This one is really nice. And another thing that we did in this one is to recreate this old label.
Okay.
You see that
On the side.
exactly never existed. Existed in the 30s and was again recreated and used just for this regional edition. That in 2011 started, instead of being exclusivo Reino Unido, it was exclusivo Gran Bretaña.
Gran Bretaña, that's right.
Yeah, because it was the year 2011 that United Kingdom started the preparation for the Olympics.
Which was in 2012. So with that in mind, we wanted to create something very obviously British.
Okay.
That reflects. So Britannica, you don't get much British than Britannica.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So that's where the inspiration for partly because of the name came from. And we changed it to Gran Bretaña on the brand because as everyone can hear, it doesn't come easy to us, the Spanish language. So
Gran Bretaña is
the other one.
Reino Unido.
It doesn't really mean a lot to anyone here.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know what, let's spell it out, literally.
Yeah.
So we're Gran Bretaña. And then the other size, and this was the last year actually where you were allowed 2 in 1 year.
Okay.
Well, actually, we got special dispensation because
Afterward,
of the Olympics. So we produced something called the Punch Medailla de Oro, which was a beautiful cigar where we dressed it in gold foil. Again, it used to be a tradition, or it had been done in the past in the Cuban industry, to presenting cigars in that way.
Yeah.
And I think, have we got a box here?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
I think
Oh, really?
Just under that one.
That was, this is an incredible
Yeah.
cigar. I think, the first time Gemma and I ever had lunch, Edward joined us, and she was so kind as to
Really?
gift me 2 of those.
Oh, really?
And one of them I smoked at, Davidoff of London with Edward Sahakian and Jose, joined us.
Okay.
And it was one of the most
Really?
incredible cigars
Oh, right, okay.
I've ever smoked. The second one now, is, occupying a very special corner of my humidor for me to remember fondly.
So these were 2011, but we're going to launch it obviously in 2012 to commemorate the Olympics. Medailla de Oro, gold medal. It's also a nod to a previous Bolivar gold medal. That had produced. So as you can see, these stunning cigars with the gold foil, which we produced. And that's why on it says EMS 2012, EMS being English Market Selection.
Okay. And so this was different. I mean, I guess technically
and it says
it would be regional.
Should say Gran Bretaña on it as well.
Does. Exclusivo Gran Bretaña.
Yes, Exclusivo Gran Bretaña and the EMS 2012.
On the foil.
And that's a doble.
Yeah, it's 50 ringgit, 155.
Amazing.
The same size
they still
than
smell fresh.
Cubana Gloriosos.
And if you notice now, we started producing them in boxes of 10.
Okay.
Again, it was
because these were all 25s.
It started off with the Por Larranaga Magnificos. We also did in a box of 10. But what we found moving forward was more people wanted the opportunity to invest in a box, and we found that a box of 10 increased the number, the opportunity of people able to purchase a box. Because there's one thing from a box of 25 taking a few sticks.
Yeah.
But people wanted the box. They wanted the number of the box. They wanted the extra, the chevron and so on.
The date.
Exactly, because if you're going to be a collector, you've got to have the box. Really, of course you can have the single sticks. So this is why you'll find that more boxes of 10 are produced, which flies completely in the face of what we just talked about with the Por Larranaga 47, which is a cab of 50, but we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
So this is why the 10s came about as well. So you had the Bolivar Britanicas and the new size, and then you had that was inadvertently made, and the Punch Medailla de Oro for 2012. Then it went to one size every year.
Okay, so that was the last year.
That was the last year of the year.
You were able to get away with it.
Well, in 2012 was
because it is a lot of work.
Just one size, less work. That it was just one size was the Ramon Allones Petit Belicosos. After 2013, one size and so on. So, but in 2015, again they went again with murder, and they had two.
Okay.
Two again, but we come to that later.
Yeah.
So this was 12.
That was
12. And so faced with you're only allowed one, what do we do?
This is 11.
11.
That was 11. In 2012, we have the Ramon Allones Petit Belicosos.
Yes, exactly. So when we only faced with one, we picked Ramon.
With Ramon, yes.
We decided to do a tribute to the original Belicoso by having its baby brother, as it were, the Petit Belicoso.
The little brother.
In boxes of 10.
And in 2013, we came back to the Flor de Cano.
Well, we had spare ink, didn't you?
Yes, we had the ink, so you didn't have to bring ink again because we already had the ink in the warehouse. So we were able to produce again the presentation with the green ink. But we produce a special, you produce a special label for that. That was also a papeleta that existed in the 30s.
Okay.
And again was
recovered by
Hunters and Fraukau. I think I got here one of the papeletas.
Because it's incredible to me the amount of work that goes into the development of these regionals. I mean, especially within Hunters and Fraukau. I mean, not just in the selection of the brand, the selection of the vitola, the historical significance of what that's coming from, but then also the packaging, the bands, the ink. The box.
That's why, as I said, we had
for example, this is the papeleta of the Flor de Cano. This is the one that was created for Bolivar. This is coming afterward for the.
So these are the box
López.
Labels, right? That would peel off.
Yes, exactly.
Be affixed to the box.
That we had recreated from the past, where we found them in old albums. I think even some were found in the Cuban market somewhere, just as some old labels and so on.
Actually, I love the embossing. I mean, the gold embossing on this.
Yes, it's amazing.
The detail is extraordinary.
All of these have been producing in collaboration with the printing house in Netherlands that is Vrijheid. Vrijheid Printing. That is a really nice printing house that made possible to bring to life all of these ideas, really.
Yeah.
And the Flor de Cano, Gran Cano, again, was another example of what happened by introducing a brand that's not widely available to a market. Because of the huge success of the
Flor de Cano short Robusto.
the short Robusto, as I said, the one I mentioned earlier on being the fastest selling, people wanted to have that Flor de Cano blend again and taste the Flor de Cano cigar, okay, and which was not in long filler, which was not available, I believe, Anna, at the time, still in long filler in the standard range, or we weren't importing
The
it.
standard range of Flor de Cano is short filler.
It's short filler.
It's short
So
filler.
there was a demand, and we listened to, we talked to our customers and colleagues, customers. And that's what partly inspired us as well to recreate. Bring Flor de Cano back.
And so this is, the Flor de Cano would still only have been available as part of the regional like. Has there been any situations where, because of the success of introducing a brand that had not previously been in the market, that maybe that core portfolio is brought over?
Well, now Flor de Cano has a size here in the UK as a permanent line. That is a Flor de Cano Elegidos, recently introduced in the market. But I think it's part of that success of the brand.
Yeah.
Yes, and also other brands like, for example, Por Larranaga. Por Larranaga is a brand that was big in the 70s with more than 10 different sizes, became very small with 1 or 2 sizes. Here in the market, we only had one size, Por Larranaga Petit Coronas, and now we have permanent sizes, Por Larranaga Galanes, Por Larranaga Picadores, as for specialists. So this regional edition definitely has contributed a lot to extend the knowledge about the brands, but also something that sometimes never is maybe it's not talking about, but it's the influence also in the industry, in the Cuban industry, because this regional edition have been also taking, the industry have taken out these productions from the main factories in Havana. Usually the main limited editions and main releases and everything are being concentrated in the main factories in Havana City.
Yeah.
However, there are certain factories in Cuba that, because they are smaller factories, they are not able to produce a limited edition, but they are able to produce regional editions. And some of the regional editions that the United Kingdom have had, like for example, Juan López, have been produced by small factories outside of Havana. And for those factories, the regional edition is something so special because they have the opportunity of showing what they are capable of. And they really put a lot of attention to details with this regional edition. I think that also have helped a lot to the develop of
just
also
the industry.
Outside of Havana.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's incredible to me, and this was just impressed upon me whenever we had the opportunity to travel to Cuba with Hunters and Fraukau for the Habanos Festival, is just the incredible amount of pride and personal pride that everyone within the cigar industry, and especially the torcedores and the people rolling the cigars, put in their work. I mean, these are jobs, for whom are more than just jobs. I mean, it's passions and entire careers and sources of pride. And so I think in so many ways, a Cuban cigar is such a reflection and accumulation, aggregation of the people involved in their creation. And there's nothing that is handmade to a larger quantity, that is more accessible, and probably, to be completely honest, has more hands touch it than a handmade cigar from Cuba.
Absolutely. I mean, they are really the true magicians and stars of all of this. Whatever we do, whatever we come up with, whatever we suggest, the real magicians, the real people, are those torcedores, or not even the torcedores, the vegueros, the farmers, everyone involved in the process. And as you say, the leaf, before it becomes to this, goes through so many pairs of hands and expertise and skill. going back to the pride that they take, as Ana said, we whenever we get the opportunity, when we go back to Cuba, we actually take a box of the regional edition to the factory, be it a regional factory, and just for when we go there and we just to say thank you to them, and they see and we explain to them how their cigar, their creation, their product that we are just custodians on to impart and to share with others has been well received and people love it. You can just see the pride in their faces. It really is humbling, it truly is.
The Cuban people, have such pride, in their work, in their culture. There's so much to be proud of. And I can see how the opportunity for a smaller factory, or even any factory for that matter, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later, to produce a regional limited edition cigar is an opportunity for them to really showcase what it is that they are capable of, because there is such tremendous skill that goes into rolling a Cuban cigar. That again, I think is one of the many characteristics that make these so special. And it's one of the things I enjoy about collecting the regionals is, the fact that, they're such unique, singular incarnations. I love my standard production, right? Habanos does an incredible job, with the standard ones, but it's nice. I look at smoking a cigar as an opportunity, to do something special. Every single time I pull one out, it's a special moment to enjoy myself and to enjoy a great Cuban cigar. And, the regionals are an opportunity to, elevate that in some cases maybe a little bit more.
Talking about enjoyment, this cigar is magnificent. Magnificent. It's just developing so well, so nice. It's really, really...
You're not going to get an argument out of me on that.
No, it's incredible. Absolutely, it's incredible. Delicious. This cigar is from the beginning showing all the flavor and strength that is in Ramon Allones. But through all the cigars, you can feel how it's evolving and how you have note of cedar and everything. It's so really, really nice cigar.
And one of the things we learned at the Britanicas factory is how, really they don't begin to rate or grade the blend until you get past that first third. Because at that point you've got, all of the filler and everything kind of coming together. And, here we are, at that moment where, the magic really begins to show through. And one of the things I enjoy about the slightly larger format or longer format cigars is the opportunity for that flavor to evolve over more time.
Absolutely, and that's what one of the benefits and real characteristics of Cuban tobacco gives you is that opportunity to develop, because it's got such a wide variety and potential of flavor. From tobacco generally, found or grown in Cuba, in the Vuelta Baja or the regions in Cuba, it really does give that potential. And this is why when, I was at a tasting last night and I was explaining, don't judge a cigar, going back to what you just said, no, you don't judge a cigar at the beginning, it develops, because that torcedor places the leaves in the same direction, so you're lighting the tip of the leaf, it's going to evolve in flavor. And it will match certain, parts of a drink and so on at different parts of the cigar.
You never find a Cuban cigar that is flat in flavor. Always you are going to find something different through the journey of smoking one cigar. And that is the beauty of the Cuban cigar.
And the other thing that we see in the regionals, right, which really is accentuated, is the opportunity to see how these cigars develop with age, right? As you kind of age them yourself, right, or the retailers age them, or even Hunters and Fraukau through the House Reserve, age their cigars, to see how the tobacco continues to develop.
Yes.
So this cigar right here, which is the most recent release, the 230, is smoking beautifully, but the opportunity to enjoy it in 5, 10, 15 years' time is an opportunity to really re-experience this in a different way.
Yes, and we already had that experience when we created a collection in 2019 with all of those regional editions produced until that moment. And we put all together in a humidor as part of the presentation of the House Reserve.
We have it, we have it right here. We brought it out for us.
The reason we did that, well, we were planning to do it anyway, but in 2019, Habanos SA didn't do any regional editions. So they had a year to catch up.
Yeah.
I don't suppose they knew what was around the corner in 2020, but they had they didn't produce any. So we thought it would be a good year. Nobody around the world. So it was a good opportunity for us to actually showcase everything we'd done up until that point, and we produced. These
which is an incredible portfolio that we have the privilege right now to see in its totality.
Yes.
I mean, again, the sum. What is it? The sum is greater than the parts, right? That we see here in the portfolio, and that's, I think, where Hunters and Fraukau really, just demonstrates its preeminence is in the continuity and the totality of everything that this company has been doing, not just since the launch of the regionals in 2005, but really since the beginning of the Cuban tobacco industry itself.
And also creating some trends also, because we were talking about 2012, 2013 with the Flor de Cano, 2014 with Por Larranaga Sobresaliente. But in 2015, for example, we had one regional edition that was Bolivar Belgravia, but we also had special production that was the Ramon Allones 225th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And that was not a regional edition. The normal regional edition was a special regional edition to celebrate the 225th anniversary of Hunters and Fraukau. Yeah. That was, I think, something very, very special.
Okay.
And in 2013, the late Simon Chase, I think that was one of his last projects and contribution to this project of regional edition. He came to Cuba with the idea of producing a cigar that will be released in 2015 because of the idea that always in the past the cigars were resting for at least 2 years. Yeah. He came with the proposal to Habanos of producing that special cigar to commemorate the 225th anniversary of Hunters and Fraukau, and to produce a special cabinet as to, I would say, replicate the cabinets that at the time in the past were used to transport.
They would survive better on the ships. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're beautiful cabinets that I'm sure you've seen. Used to be, that's how they used to make these little cabinets and even big cabinets as well, which had tens of thousands of cigars. But also the size as well at that time. We wanted to recreate a size that was popular when Hunters and Fraukau used to own the brand. I go back to that story. So it was a special size created, which was a gordito, but it had a dropped head. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to attempt the cabeza tumbada.
Thank you.
So again,
the 109 is like, right?
Thank God it's just not me and you, Kirby. Otherwise, this would be a very different production. Yeah. So again, it was all to reflect the history of the company, naturally, and all that with regard to rum Alone as well, and the cigar, its tribute to what was popular back then between 1911 and 1927. It was, again, we had Ana mentioned about the other cigar, which was the Bolivar Belgravia. And again, we knew we were going to have our big party in Belgrave Square.
Okay.
So we hired we had a big marquee. It was a wonderful event. It really was. And even though I say so myself, I think, whoever's up there is a cigar smoker, Cuban cigar smoker, because the day couldn't have been more beautiful. Wow. It was stunning, beautiful. It was such an memorable evening.
And you released both those, the 225th and the Bolivar Belgravia.
We called it the Bolivar Belgravia, but also we released the Bolivar Belgravia under the gaze of the only statue in London of Simón Bolívar to commemorate in Belgrave Square, to commemorate his only visit in 1811, isn't it? 1810, 1811. Yeah. So everything kind of came together in one spot, and we had the 225 Hunters and Fraukau Anniversario 225. Yeah. But also to commemorate that, we had a special Havana Club blended a very special rum.
Okay.
Which again, specifically to match with that cigar. And I remember the party we had in Cuba that night with the rum and the cigar. It was fantastic. And the rum just was blended. You know, Gemma went and tasted a lot of rum. Didn't see her for many weeks. But, you know, tasted a lot to match directly with the cigar. And we had just a very limited, they weren't put on sale, the rum, so just a very limited number of bottles, which everyone got a bottle who bought one of the cabinets a cabinet which contained 100 cigars.
I only bought a box.
So there is
unfortunately.
I'm so sorry.
So where does that leave us then? So we're at 2015, which was an important year, the 225th of Hunters and Fraukau. It sounds like you had some incredible, I mean, what a year. I mean, the 225ths, the Belgravia, the special rum from the Havana Club. And I mean, that's where I think, you know, was a moment to maybe stop and just reflect on the incredible history of Hunters and Fraukau. I mean, over 225 years is astounding. And then, of course, you know, the 225th, I mean, the Ramon and Allones, I mean, just another example of the masterpieces that Habanos is able to put out and that Hunters is able to, you know, develop.
In 2016, afterwards, we had a brand that already we had in 2009 with Juan López. Also a brand that is very well received by consumers, but it's very small brand with only two sizes at the moment, Selection number 1 and Selection number 2. But always this brand have been very well welcomed by the consumers. And on this occasion, the research, already we had a research of the cigar band of Juan López. And that is one of the, that belonged to the late Simon Chase. It was one of this collection of bands, cigar bands. Wow. And in here you have, for example, the example of the Juan López that used to have the name of the vitola in the band. And that was something that we replicated in the band for Selección Supremas in 2009 and also for Selección Superba in 2016. Here you have, again, something from the history, I would say, that is the incorporation of the name of the size
into the primary band?
Into the band. You say Juan López Selección Superba. That is because of that research that we found that it was in the past a tradition of placing the name of the size in the cigar band, that we did this for the Superba and also for the Suprema in 2009. And also we replicated the tapa clavo, also not used in the standard production, but you can see right here, yes, exactly. So it's a way of always trying to bring, because this is a standard presentation, label box, but we try to bring something else with that.
So this is
tapa
right here.
clavo.
To cover the nail. But basically, it's a label to cover the nail. So.
Really? Okay.
This size, Selección Superba, is Geniales. I mean, 54 ringgit, 150. That is only found in, well, at the time, only was found in Monte Cristo Open Eagle and the recent introduction in 2014 of the Hoyo de Monterrey, Hoyo de San Juan. So that was very successful also.
Absolutely. And again, I think we ordered 60,000 of them, so we're slowly increasing the quantity.
60,000 boxes
60,000.
60,000 cigars.
Cigar sticks.
So 6,000 boxes of 10.
Yeah. And again, it's that balance. We don't want to, it's to create exclusivity, whereas you don't want to create 306 because part of the collectors or the appeal for collectors is its exclusivity and there's not too many about. So we're very mindful of that. But
that have been also very, very successful regional edition. In our house reserve, we don't have too many of them. It means that we have sold out that.
Or didn't put enough in our reserve to start
we didn't put enough, I think, because it was sold out very, very quickly. Very quickly. And it's as you said, the way of making consumers aware of the realness that have some brands that really are not appreciated by the consumer in general because they are not so
available.
popular, because they don't have too many sizes, but they are really, really good
Yeah,
cigars.
absolutely.
And it's one of the brands that are produced in a factory outside of Havana. It's produced in a factory.
This is one of the ones where I think we took it back to them.
In Guira de Melena, I mean,
Yeah.
it belongs to not to Havana City. And it's a factory that really, really put so much detail into the production.
And it also helped with people, trying before, as Ana said, there was only 2 Vitolas available, the number 1 and number 2, the number 2 being a Robusto-sized cigar. And we noticed the difference in the interest and the demand for particularly the number 2. On the back of that, before people who wanted a Robusto wouldn't look beyond a D4 or a Short Churchill or an Epicure number 2, but suddenly they were discovering Juan Lopez number 2, which is a fantastic blend and a fantastic cigar.
And this is a pretty obscure brand. I don't think I've ever seen that before, right? I mean, some of the Juan Lopez's, I guess the selection on number 1, number 2, but I mean, those are in completely different presentations, right? Because they're in wooden boxes.
That is only the only size that used to be presented, and that was the Petit Coronas that have been discontinued. So it's just at the moment only number 1 and number 2 in cabinets.
In cabinets.
So that is something that also
was unique.
Unique.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And whenever you say experience the different brands, I mean, of course, it's just the imagery of the brand, the banding, the box design, right? I mean, there's true beauty in that. But ultimately, really, it's also the blend, right? Because outside of, these regionals that are maybe bringing in, low production or other brands that wouldn't otherwise be in this market, you're experiencing a totally different blend than what you would otherwise have as part of that regional portfolio. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. That's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea because usually, probably in the past, consumers in general were more loyal to a brand, to a particular brand. And because of this project of regional editions and limited editions, people are more inclined to taste different
Something
things,
different,
just to be part of that new thing where they have to try a different blend. And maybe after that they say, oh, this brand is really special. Let me go for a standard line.
Standard line,
Exactly. So that's a way of promoting this brand.
And so even though they're special Vitolas and special presentations and only produced for 1 year, the blend is still a reflection of that brand. So if you enjoy this regional and the blend of that regional, then you would presumably also enjoy the blend of the standard production.
And this is the challenge, and this is why the support from the industry is without the support and without their expertise and knowledge, it wouldn't happen, because they have to, or they, to their best abilities, as Ana was saying earlier on, is to recreate that blend from that time, or recreate from brands that are not particularly made in any great volume, and that's where the real skill and the real artistry of the many magicians. So the magicians, not just the cigar rollers, the ligador, the blenders, everybody. It's without their, let's face it, without their knowledge and expertise, none of this would exist.
So I'll never be able to smoke one of these. I mean, they're totally, I'm sure, and
if
closely
we both
held
look
hands.
one way, then maybe. It's not as if you're on camera or anything.
But I could smoke a selection on number 1 or a selection on number 2 and have something that's similar, different Vitola, but it's still going to give me a similar flavor profile.
Exactly.
Well, so this is 2015.
That's 2016.
I'm losing
count.
count.
In 2017, we thought, well, we've got the molds, so we might as well have a Britanicas Extra. They made them. They were our molds, really. It was
the UK exclusivo, etched on the side.
Exactly.
Hidden away under lock and key.
So we decided to bring back, again, through feedback from our colleagues in the trade and so on, La Gloria Cubana.
Okay.
So we brought back La Gloria Cubana Britanicas Extra. So it's I was just about to say the same Vitola as the Bolivar Britanicas, but it's not.
Slightly larger, a little extra.
Little extra leaf in it. Yeah, exactly. So that was in 2017. before then, we hit the monster that came along in 2018.
Well, the ground shook in 2018.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it was...
Yes.
And it was me stamping my foot going, no, it's never going to work.
Oh, is that right?
There was a bit of controversy.
Gemma
with that
pulling,
one.
rank,
Yeah.
I think she was really clever with that because this size, Laguito,
which size is it?
Laguito number one.
Okay.
It's the
Laguito
Laguito number
one.
one.
So this is the famous La Reina.
7.5,
Exactly.
yeah.
The
The famous
Mundo La
Laguito
Reina.
number one size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that is at the time, well, the trend was not for slender cigars.
Yeah, no.
It was for big ring gauge.
Yeah.
And to come with the idea of having this slender cigar, everybody was like shocked. I would say, really? Do you think that really?
I was opposed because, there's about 80. I said, look, ultimately, I'm the one that has to sell all these 84,000 sticks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was really, because at the time, as Ana said, we'd never done a slender ring gauge regional. And in fact, there wasn't hardly any around the world.
In fact, not even regional edition, not even limited edition have been produced in so slender ring gauge. Always have been above the 40 ring gauge. So it's something that was a real challenge,
And so up to this point, I mean, to get something that slender, you would have only had the Trinidad Fundadora and the El Laguito number one.
Coiba,
And the Fundadoras, I guess,
At the time available, yes.
Coiba, Lanceros, Montecristo Especial,
Okay.
that is not so popular, and Trinidad Fundadores with 40 ring gauge. But no regional edition or limited edition have been produced before in such slender ring gauge. No. And there's not too many cigar rollers able to produce
this one of the
sort of
most,
sizes.
I mean, it's regarded as probably the most difficult cigar to roll. I mean, am I right?
It's a very difficult, and it's produced in mainly one factory, and which is the home of the size. The Laguito number one, which, as you know, we've been there just recently, is the El Laguito factory, or home of Cohiba.
Cohiba. And El Laguito, and again, I'll take that, right? Here we go.
And,
sorry.
And one of the things, again, following them from my little speech about the support from the industry, again, it's not possible without their support.
Yeah.
And they allowed
What did they say whenever you brought this idea to them?
They actually they said, yes, we'll do it, but most amazingly, that it was be produced in the Laguito factory, which we believe no other regional has ever been produced in the home of Cohiba before.
I mean, the El Laguito factory, which we had the privilege of visiting, right? We filmed an incredible factory tour there as part of our series. I mean, is the crown jewel of Habanos and of Cuban cigars. I mean, that is the crown jewel, the preeminent factory reserved for Cohiba, which is the flagship brand of the entire Habanos portfolio. And within that entire factory, the torcedores, I mean, there's 2, 3 people that can roll this?
Well, probably.
Maybe more, but
probably more, but I mean, it's, there you have the experts.
Yeah.
If you are going to find a cigar roller that is able to produce, to make perfectly a Laguito number one, it will be in the Cohiba factory. Yeah. That's for sure. And that is I think, part of the success of this regional edition, because it was produced in the Laguito factory, because it was produced by the most expert cigar rollers that we had.
What level would you say? I mean, because they rate the rollers by level.
That is the 9 category. We call alta regalia to that, because it's the most expertise that you have within the cigar rollers will be able to produce this size.
Yeah. And the cigar has the signature pigtail, and also the presentation, a box of 24. Now that is a nod to the Trinidad brand, which also was rolled initially exclusively at the Laguito factory. So you'll notice this type of box with the clasp and the pigtail on the obviously the cigar. The box is, as I said, a nod to Trinidad, and the Laguito number one, home of Cohiba in the Laguito. It's a pity, I said, I might repeat it because I know I said it on a previous discussion we had. It's a pity that this particular cigar wasn't produced this year, particularly El Rey de Mundo, King of the World, La Reina, the Queen. And considering we have the coronation
Well,
but still,
we couldn't have predicted that.
Couldn't have predicted. No, we couldn't.
But I think that probably around it will be a lot of customers and smokers that we have available those still in their own humidor.
I think there's quite a few Lorenas
that will have
in
their
people's
La Reina will be
lockers,
celebrating the coronation.
I was
with
quite
that.
aggressive whenever this came out in terms of
took a
twisting
position,
arms
did you?
to. I said I need one box. I bought one box, and I found myself smoking through it too quickly because it was such an exceptional cigar.
Yeah.
And I found myself also sharing it with my friends that I knew really appreciated fine cigars because it was such a gift.
Yeah.
And then, I think I'd panicked at some point, and then went out and bought 2 more boxes because I had said, this isn't going to last very long. And I think I have 2.5 boxes of the La Reinas in my humidor that I am closely watching after, and again to let them age.
Fantastic.
I mean, what an interesting cigar to age. I mean, I think that in some ways, the entire portfolio of the regionals are exceptional, but this to me kind of marked, almost an inflection point of then Hunters and Fraukau doing, pretty bold regionals that in a lot of ways bucked the prevailing trends of what was in the market at that time.
Yes, and that you will find out again with the regional edition that is coming now for 2020 that will be released this year, at the end of this year, which is...
Yes, it's our 2021 regional edition.
Okay. Few years delayed,
But again, the La Reina was the inspiration of giving us the confidence to actually, do you know what, if we make it, they'll smoke it type thing,
that's right, yeah.
But to go for a size, because the 2021, here we go, Por Larranaga 47, is Julieta number 2, so it's a Churchill size, 7x47. Again, a classic size, but a size that is one, many of them have been discontinued, no longer made anymore. I remember when I first came in the industry, you had the Punch Churchill, the Bolivar Gigantes, you had the Upman Monarchs, you had the... obviously, you still got the Key West Splendidos, but you had many different, you had the Prince of Wales, and so on. But now there's very few Churchill size remaining.
Proper cigar.
Just 2. Coiba Splendidos and Romeo and Julieta Churchill is the only 2 that still are available in the standard portfolio.
But not only were we not satisfied with just choosing that Vitola, we thought, let's put it in a cabinet of 50.
Okay.
So we've got that to look forward to. But,
wow. This is a true collector's cigar, a true connoisseur cigar. Not just a proper Churchill, which is a monster of a cigar. Something that really can be enjoyed, but also in a cabinet of 50.
Cabinet of 50 will be a real treat for collectors, and it's not usual cabinet of 50 because it's not SLB, it's SBN.
It's an SBN
cabinet of
class.
50 that will give more, even I would say, develop to the cigars, because the cigars are placed in rows with a cedar line between them, and that would be perfectly for aging.
Yeah. 13, 13, 13, 11, yeah.
Amazing. But we skipped one, right, that we're also enjoying here, which was...
We're already enjoying this one. That is,
but this was the year prior, so this was the regional in between the La Reina.
This is 2020. But
am I missing something?
No.
Because it was the La Reina, and then was there something after that?
No, 19, there was a stop.
A stop.
So La Reina was 18, then there was a stop, so there were no regionals. Then in 2020, it's to commemorate 230 years of Hunters Fraukau, we created this brand. It's the size from the original, our first regional edition, second regional edition, the Magnifico, Partagas 16 size. But unfortunately, something happened in 2020. I'm not sure if you heard about it. But the world stopped in 2020, and we only were able to release it at the end of last year, and obviously we're still selling it this year. So it's kind of 2 years late, quite understandably, given what happened. But again, going back to the theme, we wanted to celebrate our 230th, and there'd been 5 years, so it's within the rules.
Yes, that's right.
So we picked the Ramon private stock, and we were inspired by the size, the name from a previous Vitola that existed in the brand, and amazingly, as Anna's going to show you.
I'm going to show, yes.
We're going to show you.
You see, that is from the 30s.
Wow.
And it's the way that used to be served.
So how would this presentation have been served?
So basically, the salesman used to, instead of going, they don't go around with product sheets or things on iPads or anything. They literally had the cigars in boxes like this, where they used to go around and showcase their brands.
Wow.
And you have here the original private stock that was 40, 150. That was 40, the ring gauge. Now we have 50 ring gauge. And that was originally the band, was brown. In the 70s, we used a black one, and that is the one that is here reproduced. You can see this is a catalog from Hunters Fraukau in the 70s, and you have there the private stock with the black
band.
You'll note
Exactly.
much more variety of vitolas available in that brand at the time.
Yeah. Wow. Look at this. Wow. I mean, the Ramon and Allones, look at that variety.
Look at the variety.
But look at this. That kind of really stands out. So it was
Exactly.
And was it this photograph that then inspired the black band?
Yes,
Yes.
from that one, because it's the last private stock that we had was with that band.
And what would private stock have designated? Like what was, I mean, so the private stock, what did it
Because
mean?
of why the name? I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm just
Probably
curious.
Name that private stock, but I don't know why.
Private stock is a name that that has
name.
been used in the industry over the years. Don't forget, there's been hundreds and hundreds of brands that have disappeared over the years and so on. So that's why you only scratch the surface by when you start researching.
Yeah.
If you really go into literally, there's been hundreds of brands in the past and sizes. So
Here you have the trade price list from Hunters Fraukau in 81 and 82. And still in 81, we had the private stock, 50, 150, 40 ringgit, 159. That was
In a box of 25.
exactly, 1981. And
The Churchill 898. That's interesting. I mean,
the 898, yes, the 898.
lots of lines that have no longer. But
Wow.
you'll
898
notice
was
the
dark
price has
size.
changed a little bit as well.
Well,
In 1982, disappeared. So
okay, so here we have it.
the last,
This thing.
81.
exactly,
81.
81 was the last
Wow.
time that we have a private stock in
And
the
it's
market.
been resurrected for the 230s.
Well, the name, the size is different, obviously.
Yeah.
There's not the original private stock
No.
name because they didn't have the mold. It's got to be in a mold that they already have produced. That's one of the conditions of regional edition. So, yes, so we
until
started
it's not,
enjoying
until
it.
the exception is made.
Until the exception is made accidentally.
Yes.
Exactly. Long may we live for more mistakes.
That's right. I mean, I just look at these last three regionals, right? The La Reina, the 230s, and then now the Por Larranaga, 47. I mean, absolutely incredible cigars that are true connoisseur cigars. I mean, long formats, interesting vitolas, and just the opportunity for the regionals to indulge that connoisseurship and the culture of collecting, I think is really special. And of course, I mean, here in the United Kingdom with Hunters and Fraukau, I mean, the extra effort put into these cigars, really has made them the most sought after and highly regarded of probably all the regionals.
And actually, in our 2023, because what they're also doing is they're scrapping 22 for a year, and they'll call it 23. We are again looking to revive a size that was very much popular in the past.
Okay.
And that's going to be the Flor Cano Selectos number 3, which is going to be a Cervantes size.
What size
And
is that?
that's a Mica Monte Cristo number 1.
Okay.
6.5 by 42, I believe, which is the
42,
second.
165
Yeah, which is will be the second slimmest after La Reina regional edition we've ever done.
It's still quite long. Like a proper cigar.
And there's only for that size now, and it used to be a staple. When I've entered the industry, there were other Cervantes, but now there's only one in the standard portfolio. So we want to recreate that. That
Usually
size
the
and so on.
Cervantes is the popular name is Londales.
Yeah.
And it was very popular in the 80s when I started in the industry, was in most of the brands. We had that in most of the brands together with the Petit Coronas. I've seen probably following the trend of Montecristo, that was the main brand at the time, and Montecristo #1, which is the only size that currently in the standard portfolio is still alive in that particular format. So that will be, again, another challenge.
But be patient. We won't be seeing that for a while. Be patient.
Well, there's a lot to enjoy until then, it seems.
Well, just in this room, there's a lot to enjoy until then.
That's right. I mean, it's we can't get away with breaking any boxes. But this has been incredible. Thank you for sharing this. And what a privilege to be here and to be just in the presence of this incredible portfolio of regionals, the aggregation of work, right, and inspiration that these cigars represent. And, again, the trip to Cuba was just a seminal trip for me. I was left with such a profound appreciation for the Cuban people, the culture, and how these Cuban cigars are such a representation, manifestation, and an aggregation of the people. And the regionals extend that into the market, really adding on to that, the history of Hunters and Fraukau, the market here in the United Kingdom, and the retailers, and the customers.
And we are very, very proud of being part of this project that just started in 2004 when we went to Cuba and said, well, let's try to start with that Ramon Allones Belicosos. And since then, the project worldwide have been able to I would say, bring back a lot of brands. Brands like Ramon Allones, that was at the time very local, today have produced more than 47 different presentations around the world, in other countries. It's a big, big success of this product and of this project in general. And for us, in particular, for the United Kingdom, is a real
it's a hallmark. It's a cornerstone.
To be part of that project since the beginning.
But we never ever forget that. When we look at it, obviously we're very proud, but we always appreciate. It's not possible without the industry and the Cuban people, and they are the real people that have made this possible. And like you say, when I look at it, I feel great pride from the ones I was involved with, the ones I wasn't. But actually, the real stars, as I said, is the Cuban people.
Yes, as Cuban, I cannot be more than proud of being in this industry for so long and be able to share with so many people in the country, the vegueros, the farmers, in the industry, the master blender, the cigar roller, and in the trade, because the trade is always part of that final step to be able to bring to the consumer that enjoyment. For Cubans, Habanos is one of the most important things and is part of the pride of the country, of the Cuban people.
Well, Sean, Ana, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your passion. And thank you for everything that you do, and for, of course, the Cuban people, and for Gemma and Hunters and Fraukau and everyone at this company, to just support the virtues of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor. And I hope, of course, everyone watching this has enjoyed this as much as I have. You're all invited to watch this, hopefully, in the company of a great cigar, to enjoy this moment as much as I have. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.